All right, so what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be covering the fight taking place at UFC Fight Night, September 12th, between Roxanne Modafferi and Andrea Lee. Now, before I get into it, I just want to let you guys know that I've made other fight predictions and there's more coming. So if you subscribe to the channel, you're going to be notified when I post. I think that's how it works, right? Or you have to hit the bell or something. Yeah, okay, hit the bell as well while you're there. Because, yeah, I got more fight predictions coming, so if you're interested, subscribe to the channel. Anyways, let's get into this fight. This is the battle of the women's flyweights. And listen, right off the bat, something that's extremely interesting to point out is the fact that Modafferi has actually faced Lee in the past. I mean, it was a long time ago in 2014. It wasn't in the UFC, but still, Modafferi actually won that fight. So, right off the bat, if I'm Andrea Lee, I'm like, yo, I want to knock this woman out because she made me look like a fool 6 years ago. So, extremely interesting because they fought before. Now, before I go any further, I just want to let you guys know about the odds because I know you guys are interested. Andrea Lee is actually a very strong favorite at minus 305, and Modafferi is actually the underdog at plus 230. So, I said it. Now, from a ranking standpoint, it's a very interesting fight. Modafferi is currently the number 8 ranked flyweight. On the other hand, Lee is inching behind her at number 9. So, pretty balanced there. Now, starting with Modafferi, other than the fact that she looks like an AP physics teacher, you can't take away from the fact that when analyzing her record, she's got so much experience in the fight game. Specifically, she's been fighting in the MMA game since 2003. Now, for perspective, I know you guys don't care, but in 2003, I was actually 4 years old. And now I'm like 40 years old. So that's a lot of wrestling. That's a lot of fighting. I mean, listen, if speaking for myself, if I got into a UFC career, I would last one fight. Like, just like sign me up for a year. And like, I'll probably not fight. But yeah, I don't even know how she does it. She's fought for over 18 years, 17 years, like, it's ridiculous. And at the same time, she also has a very dynamic fighting background. She's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu and a brown belt in judo. So listen, if you're going to go for the clinch or try to take her down, you got to watch out because she's got a very versatile way and manner to potentially put you in a hold and be dangerous. Before fighting in the UFC, Modafferi has actually fought in many other divisions like Smack Girl in her early years, K-Grace, Invicta, and many more. And so in the UFC specifically, she has a record of 3-4, which could potentially be why she's seen as the underdog. 3 wins, 4 losses, and it isn't exactly the greatest record you could have. There's been better records. But at the same time, something more to say about Modafferi is that she isn't the typical fighter that's gonna, be known for that big knockout that just stuns everyone, like Amanda Nunes. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's more of the guy that she'll take the fight to a decision. Most of her fights have actually finished via decision. 28 of her 41 total fights to be exact, which is a lot. But again, regardless of this statistic, we know the background of Modafferi, extremely experienced fighter, very good ground game, extremely elite level of jiu-jitsu and judo. And at the same time, she can punch and take a punch, which, is always something good when you're fighting in an octagon. But again, she's up there as one of the most experienced fighters. And so, again, you should never walk into an octagon against a fighter like Modafferi and then, underestimate what she can do because she's got a lot of experience. Now, who's her opponent? Andrea Lee. Now, as I said before, she's probably going to come into this fight looking to redeem the way that their last fight ended in 2014. She's coming into this event with 2 straight losses that were both ended via decision. But this doesn't take away from the fact that she's, an extremely tough fighter who's always looking for blood. But at the same time, coming from 2 straight losses could potentially, make or break the fight from a psychological standpoint. If she's able to override this psychological barrier, she's going to do just fine. And with no doubt, I think she's going to be able to do this. Now, in the UFC, she has a record of 3-2, which is better than Modafferi's record of 3-4. And another interesting fact, however, is that all of her 5 fights have been decided by the judges. So we have Modafferi, who's ended 28 of her 41 fights by the judges' call. And on the other hand, you have a fighter like Lee, who's also finished 5 of her 5 fights in the UFC via decision. So what I'm going to guess is that this fight is not going to be ended before the judges have to call a winner. That's how I think it's going to go, but I could be wrong. Now, Andrea Lee is an extremely dangerous fighter. Specifically, she averages 5 significant strikes per minute and 3 takedowns per 15-minute fight, which she's all over you all the time. But again, when we want to look at knockouts against a black belt in jiu-jitsu, in Modafferi, who has a lot of experience, if I'm Andrea Lee and I'm coming into this fight, I'm probably not going to want to take this fight to the ground. I'm going to try to keep it on my feet as much as possible, hopefully drag it to the final decision and get a dub. Maybe, that's what I do as a fighter. But again, I predict fights, so who am I to say? Because again, also Andrea Lee, she also has a good jiu-jitsu background in a brown belt, but a brown belt is no black belt. So that's, something more. But at the same time, she has other skills that could potentially do her good in this fight. Specifically, she has a black belt in Kyokushin, which is a Korean-Japanese stand-up martial art, which basically means you're an absolute savage, I would suggest. So if this fight is going to be kept on the feet, Lee could do a lot of damage. And this is why I believe that while Modafferi could be an extremely dangerous fighter on the ground, if this fight remains on the feet for a larger majority of the fight, I think it's Lee's to take. I think she can outbox a fighter like Modafferi, and yeah, it's fresher blood. That's just how I think this fight is going to go. I would be very surprised if I saw a Lee knockout. I think this fight is going to be ultimately dragged until the final decision. But I do think that Andrea Lee is going to take this home. Her stand-up game is better. And again, I just feel like if she wants to take this home, she's going to have to try and keep this fight on her feet. And yeah, that's how I think the fight is going to go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm interested to know some more perspective. Maybe if you guys have seen specific fights, I'm interested to know what you guys think. And yeah, I'm going to remind you guys to subscribe again because I have more fights coming up, more predictions coming up. And if you like this type of content, why not subscribe? You get to see more of it. I also post other stuff here and there. And yeah, if you do subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next one, then I'll see you guys in the next one.